Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me today. It's Allan Laboucan with the Rocks and Stocks News Show. I've got another of my In the News programs that I'm going to do today. Got some good companies to talk about, and I'll start with the big market moving stuff, which is what's going on with the US dollar and the price of gold, because they are the biggest movers in the market, especially towards sentiment. Before getting started in that, I would say that, with the recent action in the price of gold, it's showing that there's not a lot of real serious conviction regarding the gold stocks and other metal stocks. What we saw is that from November until just a few days ago, the gold price was moving up nicely, and we saw a lot of good breakouts in gold stocks. But then the US dollar caught a bid, and after the, I think, misleading employment numbers, and it jumped up, gold got hit, and the sentiment for the gold stocks is quite incredible that, after 2.5 months or so of good action, maybe close to 3 months of good action, it was all kind of for naught in a few days of trading. So I think that this is a sign that we're still in the very early days of a gold bull market. Of course, there's going to be stumbles along the way, but ultimately, I think the fundamentals of what's setting up for the price of the bearish US dollar and bullish gold, silver, copper, and other metals is well in place. But we are having one of those stumbles. And by extension, we've seen some pretty significant weakness in the gold stocks, which I think creates a great opportunity for investors. Okay, so I'm going to start sharing my screen here. And we'll talk about the US dollar first. As you can see here, it's been in correction since November and has come off quite substantially. The 50-day moving average has been on a significant decline. It went through a death cross in early January, had a very poor January effect reading. And then those employment numbers last Friday caused a rally in the US dollar. But I think it's important to note that it's hitting a roof here right on the 50-day moving average. I think we're within a day or two of it continuing its downward direction. The fundamental reasons for that downward direction is you can see lots of economic indicators that are suggesting that the Federal Reserve has over-tightened in their tightening campaign to fight inflation over the last number of months. And you see it in the housing numbers. You see it in the credit card numbers. The people are using their credit and cards, and they're paying a very high average rate of about 19% for those credit card purchases. So that cannot continue for very long. And then when it comes to the credit card of the United States, they're now with all these interest rate increases, the debt, the interest payments on the debt is now approaching $1 trillion. And I believe that's going to go right to the deficit. So yeah, there's plenty of signs that the Federal Reserve is about to end their campaign of interest rate hikes. And I don't think it's going to be too long before they're talking about lowering interest rates due to all these economic indicators, including the yield curves, which are all suggesting that there's going to be a significant economic slowdown. And so then we'll move over to gold, and I'll just pull this up here. Gold, as you can see with gold, it's kind of doing the opposite of the US dollar, which is why I follow the US dollar so closely, is because it is, when the most watched pricing of the gold price is what it's doing in US dollars, just like the same for silver, copper, other metals, other commodities. And so, as you can see, since November, when the US dollar went into correction, the price of gold broke out quite dramatically. It went through a golden cross in January, had just a terrific January effect reading, which is often an indicator of how it's going to perform in the year. But I would also point out that as it's been correcting, it's still staying above the 50-day moving average and quite significantly above the 200-day moving average. On the opposite, with the US dollar, it is banging its head against the 50-day moving average and looks like it's ready to drop. And I think that gold is ready to pop and rally off of this short-term oversold situation. Okay, so let's move on to some companies. Amex Exploration had news out that they reported results from their team zone with intersects of up to 4.73 grams per ton gold over 8 meters, 2.71 grams per ton over 10.5 meters. Inside of that, there was a 1 meter intersection of 27 grams of gold, a half a meter intersection of 39 grams of gold, a 1 meter intersection of 72 grams of gold. And that's the nature of the gold systems that they're finding at their project. On this eastern high grade zone, they've had just quite spectacular intersections of with great continuity from basically the surface right down to the over 1,000 meters of depth. Continuity, often it's said in this business that grade is king. Well, in reality, it's continuity that is king. You can have sporadically distributed high grade in a system that won't make a profitable mine. In fact, will lead to a money-losing mine. On the other hand, when you have continuity of the high grade, that's when you have a cash machine of a mine. And that's what I think they have on their hands at the eastern high grade zone. But then you look at this team zone that they just reported these results from, and they're getting, again, excellent distribution of the high grade gold. And as you can see, here's some visible gold in the core, lots of nice looking stuff in the core. And what I think is also quite important is that here and these other zones of very high grade is all in close proximity. You're looking at 200 meters from there to there, 100 and a bit from the high grade zone to the upper high grade zone, Donna zone, E2 gold zone. And as you can see with these two faults, Normatel, which I think this mineralization is associated with, these are these deep cracks in the earth that bring the high grade fluids up towards the surface. And then down here, you got the Perron fault, which I think explains this Western Denise zone, which is a high grade open pit target, and the Eastern high grade zone. But when you get these, and what's also interesting is this Perron fault dips towards the north, and you're getting very close to where it's dipping upwards. If you project down this Eastern high grade zone, that could be a source of where that mineralization is coming from, and that could be the situation at the team zone. But if you keep, it doesn't show this on this map, but if you keep following the high grade, the Normatel fault and the Perron fault, about 300 meters over here, they come right in really close proximity, like you're talking less than 50 meters. And that also could be a source of where all this gold mineralization is coming from. I think there's a good chance that all of this is part of one big gold mineralizing system. And the potential is that this could be the conduit, this Perron fault, this could be the conduit, or where they come together could be the conduit, and they're doing a bunch of drilling over there. So this is I think it's without a doubt a future mine in the making. And I think that the stock offers a very good opportunity for investors. Now, I'm just going to bring up their stock chart before I move on to the next company. And here is their stock chart. I think here it's very oversold. It's not trading much above the 52-week lows. And yet they've got a deep value play to me. And the catalyst, they're doing hundreds of thousands of meters worth of drilling. And I think they're going to have some great news flow. So catalysts for them would be the gold price getting stronger, which I think it will be this year. And we're on the early days of a gold bull market starting, and also results from their drilling. So they've got lots of catalysts and lots of news flow ahead of them. Galantis Gold is a company that is also or is a sponsor of my website, and they've got a really exciting orogenic gold play in Ireland. For my long-term viewers, you'll know that I only ever followed one other company in Ireland. That was Dalradian. Started following them at about 25 cents, and they ultimately were bought out at several multiples of that. When Galantis Gold came in front of me, I was very excited about this orogenic gold system. As you can see, they reported 22.5 grams of gold over 2.7 meters. Just hold on here. Mario Stefano, who's the CEO of the company, commented, and I quote, "Our exploration project at Oma is consistently delivering solid gold grades, allowing us to hone in on further targets for follow-up drilling that is ongoing. As expected, this underexplored deposit continues to yield promising results, particularly at the main Kearney vein and the B lens, which is another vein running parallel to Kearney. We are excited to incorporate these results in our future mineral resource update to also help optimize our mine plan," end quote. As you can see, there's some beautiful looking rock. This graded 42.68 grams per ton of gold and 432 grams of silver over 0.36 meters. As you can see, some beautiful visible gold in there. What's also interesting to me about this project is I'm going to go to another part of their website, OMA, and I want to show you a map that is quite exciting when it comes to a orogenic gold system. So as you can see here, there's the Kearney North, Sammy, Elkins, Kearney vein, another intersection, the Joshua vein, Kerr is here. And as you can see, these gold occurrences are very high grade, and they're all in close proximity. Now, if you look down here, there's the Oma fault, and these are deep cracks in the earth. And that's the nature of these orogenic gold systems. They have these deep crustal cracks in the earth that allow the gold-bearing fluids to make their way up to surface. And these secondary structures are also important. But what happens is the gold-bearing fluids make their way up these faults towards surface, and they then spread out into these zones. And as you follow them deeper, and you get closer to the heat engine, is where you find the just off the charts bonanza grades like they did at the Swan Zone in Fosterville in Australia. And I think what's happening here is all of these high grade zones are all connected at depth, and they're related to this Omaha fault. Most of their drilling where they've already hit a lot of high grade to bonanza grades has been done fairly close to surface within the first couple hundred meters. Yet these orogenic gold systems are known to go down, a few thousand meters or more. And so they've got a very exciting project. I think that their valuation is very cheap. I'm just going to bring up their stock chart. Here's Galantis and B. Galantis is another one that I think is significantly oversold here right now, trading at its 52-week low. And you also have to consider into this that they've recently announced that they acquired a VMS project in northern Scotland that looks quite exciting as well. So I think the combination of their orogenic gold system in Ireland, Northern Ireland, and their VMS project in Scotland makes for two potential company-making assets. Again, I think catalyst for this one is the price of gold getting stronger, and then the news flow that I think will continue to deliver excellent results. Okay, the next company I have for you is 9 Mile Metals. This is a VMS company that's in one of the most important VMS mining camps in the world. Here, this news release on January 31st, I'll just briefly touch on it because I did touch on it in previous shows, but they're starting their drilling program at the 9 Mile Brook lens that they found. I believe it's over here somewhere. What's interesting is this series of geophysical anomalies. They follow a rock package that has a hinge to it right here, and it's in very close proximity to the high-grade lens that they found. They found a lens that has a thickness at surface 10 meters and up to over 10% copper in it. So you're looking at a very thick and high-grade lens, and that's at the top of a VMS system. And when you look for the source, which they're doing with their drilling right now, if they find the source, that's very exciting. But they also have a whole slew of other geophysical targets here, including this one that you can't really see it, but it goes down. It's kind of like a cigar that goes quite a bit distance beyond this image. That's a heck of a group of targets that they have. Okay, so then they announced here that they have acquired a new project called the West 9 Mile Brook project off of one of these artificial intelligence companies that use artificial intelligence. Really, in reality, they're expert systems that use big data to filter out the geophysical and geological noise to then vector in on massive sulfides. And as you can see here, they've got a series, 3 very nice looking geophysical anomalies. And they're also going to combine with the company that they've been using, a company called EarthX, that is also one of these big data companies that filter out geophysical, geological, and geochemical noise to then vector in. And that work has led to the discovery of both the 9 Mile Brook lens that I talked about earlier, and 20 kilometers away, the California Lake project. Now, to put things into context, this is the 3rd most important VMS mining camp in the world. It truly is elephant country for VMS mines. And it's been looked at for over 100 years. And these guys are finding new massive sulfide occurrences, which is a very exciting situation. They're using new technology to find these massive sulfide occurrences. And I think collectively that makes for a pretty extraordinary situation. And especially when you consider that the valuation of the company is around $15 million Canadian right now, which I think it makes it a very low valuation considering where they are in elephant country for VMS mines, and that they're finding new massive sulfide occurrences that still remain open to find the source of where those VMS occurrences came from. Plus, they also have a whole slew of other targets to drill on. So that's a great opportunity that I think you should take a look at. Copper Lake Resources announced that they've commenced drilling at their Marshall Lake copper, zinc, silver VMS property in northwestern Ontario. You look at some of the grades that they found in their past drilling: 8.13% copper, 7.26% zinc, 240 grams of silver, 0.33 grams of gold, for a copper equivalent grade of 13.59% copper equivalent over 2.1 meters. That's not the only hole with these, excuse me, very high grade occurrences. Now, they haven't really found, I don't believe they've found the guts of that system yet, but they're sure finding some exciting stuff as they're vectoring into the guts of that system. And they've got a really good team involved. Don Hoy is the VP Exploration. Don's a very smart guy, geologist that I've known for many years. And I think that they are on to the start of a very important copper, zinc, silver, and gold system, VMS system. And I think you should follow this one very closely as well. Okay, Delta. Oh, I better go to there. Actually, I'm going to move on to Delta. Delta confirms eastward extension of new gold zone with more high-grade gold intercepts at Delta 1. 130 grams of gold over 1 meter, 30 grams of gold over a meter within a broader interval of 5.32 meters over 8, or 5.32 grams per ton of gold over 8 meters, 16.42 grams per ton of gold over 1.5 meters. Andre Tessier, their president and CEO, stated, and I quote, "These new results are extremely exciting for Delta and represent a turning point at the Delta 1 property. The results from drill holes 18, 24, and 25 are showing continuous high-grade gold mineralization over a strike of at least 100 meters in addition to broader gold intercepts. Delta is now drilling the projected eastern extension of this new, never-drill-tested, high-grade zone with an initial 3,000 meters follow-up program. With its recently signed exclusive exploration agreements, Delta now controls over 4 kilometers of strike length where the gold zone can be projected, leaving a huge area for expansion," end quote. So they think they got something big here. They're already getting some bonanza, high grade to bonanza hits in their early drilling on a new zone that is underexplored. And it's no wonder that they want to go after that with a 3,000 meter program. And I think that that will get even larger as they keep on moving forward. Delta is a new addition to my radar screen, and I'm strongly considering making them an official pick, and also invite their management on to do interviews in the future. Okay, so the next company up is Advanced Lithium, where I'm the CEO and a large shareholder. There wasn't formal news from Advanced Lithium, but there was some developments that I think is worth noting. One of those is that, as you can see, Reuters here put out an article, "Future Mexican Lithium tie-ups must give government majority stakes," Lithium X CEO stated. They talk about being in talks with private companies to do joint ventures on some of the projects. And we've got 13 salars, salt lakes with lithium and potassium in them in central Mexico. And we're one of those companies that are talking with Lithium with the idea of doing collaboration to make Mexico a future lithium mining company. And I found it quite interesting that within a couple of days of a meeting where we talked about the potential of striking a win-win relationship with Lithium that they kind of picked that quote right off of my conversation with them. There you go. We're open to giving those incentives to make it a win-win. And that's what we're after with Advanced Lithium. We understand that the country wants to become a lithium mining company, and we think that we have some unique projects that could make that happen if we collaborate with Lithium. And so that's why we've been in recent conversations with them, and I hope to hear more about that in the not too distant future. But then not long after that news release was made, or after this article went out, there was a big announcement by BMW that BMW is committed to making an $800 million investment into a facility in San Luis Potosi, Mexico, in central Mexico. Part of it will be to build batteries. I find it very coincidental that they did it. They're doing it in San Luis Potosi, and they're doing it in very close proximity to our lithium potassium bearing salars in central Mexico. Probably within a 100-mile radius of this new plant that they're building is where our lithium and potassium bearing salt lakes or salars are located. So there's some things happening with our lithium side of the company at Advanced Lithium, and I hope to see further developments in the not too distant future. All righty, so now I'm going to switch off of stop screen sharing and close things off by saying, as always, my shows are for information purposes only. It's important for you to speak with your financial advisors and do your homework before making any investment decisions. I'm a big proponent of that doing your homework part, because I think that what that does for you is it makes you understand the companies you're invested in. Then you can make logical investment decisions with reasonable timeframes for these companies to execute. I find that a lot of investors, not just in the mining space, but in the overall markets, tend to watch stock price action on a daily basis to make their investment decisions, which are often emotional decisions, not based on logic and homework. And I think a recipe for success of investing in the mining sector, as well as any other sector, is to do that homework, which is why why I produce all the content that I do. I do my homework and I bring that homework to you. And then it's your job to go out there and do your homework. On that note, have a great day and we'll talk to you soon.